In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. Can you share some effective strategies for staying mentally resilient and managing stress?
Mink, you want to kick it off?
Yeah, I think just keeping this one simple. Like for me, it is understanding what I enjoy doing and then just doing that when I'm feeling overwhelmed or stressed out. I work out damn near every day because that helps me manage my level of stress and overwhelm. I think just doing hard things makes hard things easier.
Yep.
I literally just saw this thing today and it said, the weights at the gym don't get easier to lift, you just get stronger. And I think that's how overwhelm is. Like you just get stronger at carrying it.
Yep.
So I think that's number one is just like embracing it and growing through it. And then just finding things that you love to do, like whether it's a good movie, spending time with your wife, a motorcycle ride, a workout.
Yep.
I think the only way to manage it. And then also, oftentimes the meaning that we give things determines the experience we have of it. So I think a lot of times we turn, molehills into mountains just because we embellish the importance of it.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I try to remind myself as it relates to feeling overwhelmed is like, if it's not going to matter in a day, a week, a month, or a year, then it probably doesn't fucking matter at all. And I probably shouldn't allow this to steal too much of my happiness and peace today.
Yeah, I think that's spot on.
Yeah. So I would say finding things that you love to do that can help you feel refreshed or just change your pattern.
Yep.
And then managing the relationship you have to the things that are making you feel overwhelmed and putting things in perspective.
Yeah.
One of my favorite authors is Michael Singer. And he wrote this book called The Surrender Experiment. And he has a lecture series where he literally explains the entire creation of the universe. He spends an hour and he's like, there was these gases and they started swirling and then the Big Bang and boom. And then there was stardust throughout the gas. And he goes through this whole thing about like what a fucking white dwarf is and how a black hole is created. And literally an hour of like all this crazy astrological sciencey shit. He's like, if you take a white dwarf, which is like a planet that has been like smashed down into the smallest like possible matter, it like breaks the atoms in together, and you take a teaspoon of it, it weighs like 100,000 tons because the matter is so dense. Right? And he talks about like the stars and the whole things. And at the end of it, he goes, the universe is 13.8 billion years in the making. That thing that's making you stressed out probably doesn't matter. Who do you think?
So good.
Really put it into perspective. Oh,
all right. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
you're
get it. I'm nothing.
Yeah.
The universe has been occurring for 13 billion years. Who do you think you are to influence the moment before, the moment after you? It's like, wow, we're all made of stardust, like legit stardust.
Tiny little speck.
Like, and also 13.8 billion years, and like you're gonna live 100. Like, you're not even a speck on a
even
fucking
relevant.
yeah.
I think you're going to send people into an existential crisis right now.
It's so true.
But it's like the things that are overwhelming you, they probably aren't going to matter too much tomorrow or in a month or in a year.
Yeah.
And I think that is the number one way that I've learned how to deal with overwhelm is putting things into perspective. And then I actually reverse the order. It's like I try to put them into perspective first, and then I go do something that I enjoy. Because that like gives me separation from it. And then I go do something that I enjoy, like dominate someone on the basketball court, fucking hit buckets in their face. And then I feel good.
Yeah, I think it's spot on. I think I agree with everything he said, not to be too redundant on it. For me, I think focusing on what you can control and just trying to have faith in the outcome of anything you can't control, that it's going to work out the way that it's intended and not get caught up in the shit that you have literally no control over. But if you can do that, and then for me, if it's just, moving the body. If I can move the body, get a sweat, clear my mind, it's amazing how much clearer I can think, how much more energy I have, happiness, joy, just brings energy to my body and clears my mind. So I'd say get active, get in the gym, get out and hike.
What do you do, JR?
To manage stress.
Overwhelm, yeah. all of it.
Overwhelm. I put on blinders and I push through it. So I don't know if that's healthy. It works for me though.
Yeah.
But like you said, like the weights at gyms don't
500 pounds is
get
500
lighter.
pounds.
Yeah, it doesn't get lighter. It just gets easier for you to lift.
Yeah.
But I mean, I kind of think of like Kobe when he would practice basketball. Like he talked about how he did twice the amount of work of everyone around him. And, that added up over a little bit, or let's say a basketball player practices 150 days of the year. And they practice 2 hours a day for those, they get 300 hours of practice time. Kobe did double that. So he would be 300 hours, or he would be 600 hours when everyone was just 300. And then he did that the next year, and he did the next year.
Compound and
Yeah,
compound
and this compounding interest that built up, it put him years and leagues ahead of everyone in his class and everything. So, I mean, I kind of look at it that way. Like, I just push through and I do the really hard things because I know when I come back to it, eventually the blinders are just there, and it's just kind of like this blind focus of like, I can push through this no problem. I just need to do that.
Yeah. It's interesting, you know, I think two things come to mind. You brought up the Kobe analogy, and it made me think of basketball. And, you know, two things in basketball. I remember we would do practices where the defense would have 6 or 7 players. And the idea was to
And offense had to overcome that.
Yeah.
Oh, that would suck.
And so you literally make it way more difficult on you in practice.
And 5 seems easy.
So then when you go into reality, you know, it was like, and this is a similar concept of what you're talking about, right? It's like, actually, how do you like deal with overwhelm? Well, just like embrace yourself in it so that you grow through it. I remember I used to get Slam magazine, man. I had basketball all over my wall.
Wait, what was Slam magazine?
It was just like a basketball magazine. It was
yeah.
called Slam.
Okay.
Yeah. Like Slam, you know.
Slam.
Like a Sports
Like-
Illustrated,
yeah,
but just
for
basketball.
basketball.
I got you.
And they had this ad in there for this thing that you would attach onto the hoop, which made the hoop smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
And so it was like literally the size of the hoop would go from being the normal size to like just an inch bigger than the basketball.
So you have to be spot on.
Yeah. And so I got my mom to buy me one of those. And I just would shoot and shoot and shoot, you know, and I'm freaking 37 years old now. And like I can touch a basketball and hit most shots just because of the years of repetition of overwhelming or making it more difficult on myself than it actually is in reality. So as much as we want to understand and have a positive relationship with overwhelm and not let it weigh us down, actually embracing it and intentionally overwhelming ourselves is a great way to make us stronger, better, faster, more capable.
When we're living in a time where it's like mental health and wellness, and you want to like almost let off the throttle to take care of your self-care, and not to discredit the value of self-care, but I think we sometimes undervalue the resiliency that we have inside of us to push the limits and go further and go faster. And oftentimes I think I think to that point, it's like if you make it harder on yourself and build up the resiliency, that weight becomes just normal. Playing against 7 guys becomes easier, and you just raise your level of ability to tackle it.
Yeah, I mean, when I started my first business, making $100 decision was like intense. It was stressful, right? And then we had to make we had to make $1,000 decision, and it was like, fuck, dude, $1,000? Like I don't even have that in my bank account right now. How am I going to do this? And then we make $10,000 decisions, and then with Live Bearded we make $100,000 decisions, and now we make $1 million decisions, and it's like no big deal.
Yeah.
And like $100 used to stress me the fuck out. I never imagined I would make $1 million decisions. And now we do that every day to some degree. And it only comes by like embracing the overwhelm and getting the overwhelm and working through it. So yes, we want to figure out how to have a healthy relationship with it, but we also want to use it.
Yeah. I think to what you said, adding perspective to the stress and like the grand scheme of things gives it a healthy perspective on it. Like it's healthy dose of stress, healthy dose of reality, and then you can work through it.
Yeah. It's a great question.
Love that. Yeah, solid.